What's up, internet? Fan out crew here, Colby and Brian. Jeff is on a little vacation tonight, learning how to plug in an Ethernet cable that's 5 feet too short. So he's going to have to figure that out. He'll join us for the next one. Brian, what do we have on the docket tonight?
Well, you and I recently rewatched the first Iron Man film, so we're going to talk through that. Just kind of how we felt about the film after rewatching it after all these years, and what were the strong points, weak points of the movie, and then actually we're going to use an experimental rating system that we came up with literally 20 minutes ago, if that. So we're going to rate the movie for cinematography, casting slash cast performance, plot, rewatchability, and score, meaning music score. We will use those to come up with an overall score for the film. We have this crazy idea that if we do this for every movie we watch, we can start building a huge list of our favorite movies individually, but then also as a group. So be a cool way to stack things up.
Yeah, for sure. I'm super excited about it. I know when I was watching this or rewatching this, I'd not seen it in a while. I actually took some notes. I know you said you didn't. You were just kind of wing it. So I thought maybe I would kind of go, talk about what I wrote down, and then maybe if you had some thoughts on that, you could just kind of piggyback off of what I, said. You cool with that?
Yeah, that works for me.
All right. So I'm just going to be reading from my little notebook here. So the first thing that I noticed right off the bat is I completely forgot this movie was distributed by Paramount. Not seeing the Marvel Studios fanfare is just so alien to me. This movie came out in 2008, and as we all know, it was the very first movie in the MCU. There really wasn't even an MCU yet. They were that was a pipe dream at this point. So it was just really strange, very alien that it was a Paramount movie. Did you remember that or forget about that, or how
No, I noticed that as well. I forgot Paramount was even involved.
Yeah, it's weird. It's right. It's just strange.
It really is. But then also just the fact that I was even at a theater watching an Iron Man movie, because I never, like, I read comics growing up, but like Iron Man, I never thought as a popular superhero. Like Spider-Man was my jam, and I knew of the Avengers, but Iron Man wasn't, in my opinion, a household name before this movie existed. So I was kind of surprised that I was even sitting in a theater watching this movie when it came out.
Yeah, I've got the Iron Man armor pulled up on the screen now, and it just looks beautiful. That was the thing that I noticed after rewatching this, is throw away the fact that the suit is logistically just a nightmare and physically doesn't make any sense and all that stuff. It looks absolutely beautiful. I mean, it still holds up. The the CGI they did with this movie, and the way the suit sort of moves with all the different plates moving around and everything. Mm-hmm. It's beautiful. That first true Iron Man suit, not the one that he makes in the cave, but the Mark II, the silver one that he makes and then does his first flight. I got goosebumps watching that scene. It's just so cool to see the way that he uses his like little palm, thrusters and that kind of stuff to take off, and just a really cool scene. And that's when that, Iron Man 1 music really kicks in. I forgot how much I really did love the music and the score in this film, especially when he's in the cave and it starts playing the, heavy metal rock music and stuff when he's basically just, destroying the entire cave. Just a really good movie. Especially considering what we had at the time. We had the Fox X-Men properties, which are 100% a mixed bag. Some of those are great.
Yeah.
Some of those are borderline horrible. Looking at You, Last Stand, and all the ones that just, and what was
have Wolverine in the name.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Dark Phoenix too. And then we also had the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. They ended in 2007, so this was right on the heels of that. And we we hadn't really seen anything like this movie before. It just felt different than the movies of that era. It had a different feel to it. typical Jon Favreau movie, which is to say excellent. Everything he does, with the exception of the Lion King remake, is top tier.
Yeah, and I would say going back to the armor, I was telling my wife the other day when we were watching Endgame again that the Iron Man armor in this movie is probably my favorite implementation of it on screen.
Yeah, it looks the most
I
real because I feel like it was the most practical in this movie too.
It is, and that's actually always been one of my drawbacks in the more recent Iron Man comics is he starts to get more and more closer to that kind of organic
bleeding edge armor.
Yeah, the particular like particle based armor, and it just doesn't do it for me. I like the like kind of more industrial feel of he's wearing armor, and so this movie
this one
has
is
my favorite implementation of it.
Yeah, that was something I noticed a lot that I had forgotten is when he first shows up in what is it, Golmera, and he takes on all those dudes. Like the armor has these like servo sounds and everything's like grindy and it's mechanical. And when he says he takes off and he's like, he's all yours, like his voice is really modulated, and they kind of went away from that in the rest of them, and it's fine. I mean, I get it, but I agree that this is probably his. It's not his most advanced suit, but I feel like it is the most realistic suit. I mean, it's not realistic at all, but you know what I mean? It feels the most real.
Yeah. Well, I would say like if you asked me like in a real world situation, Brian, here's Tony Stark's armory of suits. Which one do you want to take home? I'm taking that one.
Yeah,
like
me too. Yeah. If not even the Mark II, the silver one, the one before he paints it, red and gold and everything. Just a beautiful looking design.
Yeah, and I feel like the other good advantage to this suit is when Tony's in trouble, it feels a lot more real in this suit.
Right. Yeah.
Than
he's
it
falling
does, like,
and the ice and all that stuff. Yeah.
Like if you look at an Endgame, he's got what'd you call it, the bleeding edge suit, where it's got all the particles that can move around and shapeshift and stuff. It doesn't feel like he's in any real danger, even though he's fighting
he can just
things
move stuff and
it just the what's at stakes feels so much higher when you feel like he's wearing a more realistic Iron Man suit. So that's something I picked up on too, and I wish they had stayed more in that direction. I understand they changed with the times, but that was always my favorite.
Let's talk about the cast a little bit. I am admittedly not the biggest Gwyneth Paltrow fan. I've never really been a fan of her. She's actually really good in this movie. She and Tony have really good chemistry. I mean, they just do. I don't think
believable chemistry too.
Yeah, exactly. Because they have their relationship is definitely awkward. I mean, they work together, and plus he's such a narcissist. It's hard to tell if he even really does care for her, but then you realize he does. Yeah, she's one of the only people he does care about. The cast overall, I mean, this is the movie obviously that relaunched, Robert Downey Jr.'s career. He took less money in this movie than Terrence Howard did. I don't know if you knew that. He only got paid like $500,000 to make this movie, which is only, but think about that now. Like that's insane.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But overall, the cast is really good. I actually really enjoyed Terrence Howard a lot more than I remember. I did not think I liked him that much. I like him a lot as Rhodey. I don't know that I could buy him as War Machine. Like I think Don Cheadle's great as War Machine. I was really impressed with Terrence Howard because he's kind of like Tony's older brother, not really father figure, but kind of older brother. He's like, look, I'm tired of being your babysitter. You got to grow up. Like, you can't keep doing this crap,
It's interesting that you said that because when we were doing our, entire tier list before the rewatch, I remember, I don't remember if it was you or me that brought up that Cheadle's better. And after rewatching this, I was like, man, I kind of discredited this guy. And I think he did a great job in this movie. I think if Don Cheadle was not as good as he was, we would have missed him.
Right. It would have been a bad choice. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's just because the guy that took over for him was such a talented actor, it kind of made you forget that he was even there. I'm
interested to see maybe next time when we watch Incredible Hulk, if I'm going to come around to Edward Norton as Bruce, because to me, he wasn't really that great. Mark Ruffalo is the answer, but maybe things will change. We'll see when we get to that movie.
Mhm.
So overall, go ahead.
I was gonna say also, like, Jeff Bridges in this movie.
He's so weird, dude.
He is, but
Box
I
of
feel like
scraps.
I couldn't imagine a different actor in the role.
Yeah, for sure.
And I also don't like Gwyneth Paltrow very much. I don't know why. If you asked me to name a movie I liked her in, the Iron Man series is the only one that I
Yeah.
could come up with.
Yeah.
I couldn't even name other things that she's in.
I liked the movie. What is it? Contagion.
Yeah.
The basically the coronavirus movie before it was cool. Is that what it's called? Contagion? I think so. She's in that for like 5 minutes, but overall that's a really good movie. It's an ensemble cast. It's a good movie.
Yeah. But also in this movie, it introduces us to Clark Gregg, Agent Coulson. This is his first appearance too.
It's funny because I like Coulson a lot in the Avengers. On my notes, I have that S.H.I.E.L.D. is basically a nuisance the entire time in this movie, but that's by design because you're not really supposed to know, if you're not familiar with the comics, you're not really supposed to know who these guys are and that kind of stuff. Plus, he's always just kind of there. He's like, "Hey, Miss Potts, we gonna have that interview, please?" And then at the end, you're like, "Oh, these guys are legit." Yeah,
he never calls it S.H.I.E.L.D. either. I think he actually uses the full name.
I think it's a little weird, and this is just because the nature of making a lot of sequels and then making some prequels. This happens all the time. Continuity errors. Like they were already known as S.H.I.E.L.D. by that time. He shouldn't have been spelling it out, and then he's like, "Yeah, we're working on the name." It's like you're already known as S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
So it's fine. It's fine. I get it. That's like the worst thing I can say about this movie is that they had a slight continuity error with a minor subplot. Like, oh crap, what a horrible movie.
In their defense, though, I think they had probably already been tossing around the idea of building a cinematic universe, but
I
don't think that they ever imagined it would hit the scale that it did.
Right. Sure.
I think they were probably
hedging their bets a little bit.
Yeah, I think they were looking at maybe doing a trilogy or something. I don't think they were looking at doing, what are they at now? 20 some odd movies.
24 with Black Widow, which is nuts, dude. It's insane.
Yeah,
when we were looking at our tier list, the other day, I was like, there's so many movies now. If we did a Star Wars tier list, it would be like a third of that, which is crazy,
Yeah.
If you count the TV shows.
I was going to throw out there the other first appearance we get in the MCU for a recurring role is Paul Bettany. He's Jarvis in this. But
yeah, I have that. I literally I love Jarvis. He has great banter with Tony. He's sort of like a pre-Ultron without being like malicious. He's got Tony's quick wit and he doesn't take any shit from Tony, which is great. He's like, "Hey, throw in some Hot Rod Red in there." And he's like, "Yeah, that'll help you keep a low profile," but he does it. Yeah. It's Jarvis is awesome.
Yeah. The movie would not be the same without Jarvis, and especially with him as Jarvis.
I'm glad they made him
a match.
I'm glad they made him an artificial intelligence as well, and not, like a normal person like he is in some of the comics. I thought that was a good change, especially considering how well he is sort of molded into how his character has grown into Ultron and then Vision and all that stuff. Just a good decision to make him an AI.
Agreed.
I also have that the heads up display in this movie is something we've never seen before. Those shots where the camera is facing Tony and the HUD is like backwards, because it's like it's the way the camera is, that those scenes are gorgeous, dude. Those shots are just beautiful, the way that they're rendered. When he is having the icing problem and then he's falling down to the street and then he gets it fixed and then he takes off and then they show him like he like screams, like he's like so happy and like you can tell he's pumped like that. Those shots are just incredible. I have seen some tutorials actually online on how to actually sort of replicate those shots where you can make them yourself and have the HUD like move with like the curve, effect. I may try some of those just to kind of check them out. I know you're kind of into that stuff too, so maybe that'd be cool to do a video on.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, and the that icing scene was crazy. That's another good example of, I feel like if he was not in the suit he was in, there's no real sense of threat. Like he still has limits when he's in this suit.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's one part where near the end when his armor is running out of power and he's literally pulling off the suit, and he reaches up to do the repulsor and his gauntlet's literally not there, and he's like, oh crap, I don't have the armor. In Infinity War, he would have just rerouted some of the nanites to, and he does that actually. He reroutes them from his leg fighting Thanos and then puts them into his hand.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a nice evolution,
because
Yeah,
at the same time, I bet that was actually meant to be a callback.
Oh, I'm sure it was. And it's just nice to see the, sort of Iron Man year one, if you want to call it that, and it's just it was a cool thing.
Yeah, and I would actually say I think this movie, because the MCU is full of origin stories, right? This movie, I think, is the best origin story movie out of the entire MCU. And I say that even...
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that you could make a better one. Captain America's is pretty good.
It is. I think this still stands above that. And Guardians, which is my favorite MCU movie. It's a good origin story, but I feel like this Iron Man movie, there's not much I could change in it. This is
just straight up a good movie, not a good comic book movie. This is just a good movie. On my notes I have, it's got perfect pacing. There's just enough action, just enough comedy, just enough character development, struggle. I mean, the villain is I called it forgettable in our tier list. That's not really accurate. I'm going to say that the villain is not iconic in this movie, but he is exactly the amount of menacing and enough of a problem that Tony can't just ignore it. Jeff Bridges does a great job.
Yeah, and I do feel like he was a very natural villain for an origin story, because he also he's not some high fantasy character or sci-fi mystery. He's especially it makes sense. Especially it's all money based.
They didn't have all the rights to all the cool villains yet either. So we'll get into some of the other villains and stuff as we do more movies. But all right, let's go into the categories. So what do you have for the first one?
I actually want to start with cast and performance, because we talked a lot about that, and it's kind of fresh in my mind. I'm actually going to throw this so we're doing a 1 through 5 scale. Just to remind everyone what we're doing. So 5 being high, 1 being they sucked. I don't think that I could rate this lower than a 5. And I say that because Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man. That's probably one of the best casting calls that has ever happened in any movie. And he's flawless in this. He's it. And Gwyneth Paltrow as Pepper Potts. Again, I'm not a big fan of hers as an actor, but I couldn't imagine someone else in that supporting role for him. Jeff Bridges, Terrence Howard. I mean, it's an all-star cast.
I have friends texting me right now who are watching the MCU tier list video, and they're like, "You must be out of your damn mind!" It's just kind of funny looking at. I'm gonna hit him up after this. That's pretty funny. But yeah, totally agree. RDJ is so good in this movie that you are not watching an actor. You are literally watching Tony Stark. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's movies that have performances, and there's movies where Heath Ledger is not Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight. He's the Joker,
Yeah.
And even if everybody else in this movie was just sort of okay, it would still be a 5 because, RDJ is so good. So totally cool. Totally agree with giving a 5 for cast. And I don't want to say that he's so good that it doesn't matter. Everybody else in this movie is great. There's not a bad performance in this movie, honestly.
Yeah.
So
there really is, and he is so much the perfect Tony Stark that if I ever actually ran into RDJ on the street, I would probably accidentally call him Tony or Mr. Stark.
I'm gonna see if I can find that video. I don't know if it was some convention, probably Comic-Con, and one of the guys in the audience, they were asking questions, and the dude stood up and he was like, "Hi, this is a question for Tony. I'm sorry, Robert." And RDJ stood up and goes, "It's fine." Because I mean, he knows.
Yeah, it's good. But yeah, I couldn't disapprove of this cast, and Jon Favreau too, as Happy.
Oh yeah,
Who would have thought that he would still be such a relevant character throughout the entire MCU. And I'm really happy that he's involved in the Spider-Man movies, and they found purpose for his role because he is so good as Happy.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we got cast, performance, 5. What else we got?
Next up, we have cinematography. I'll let you rate this one first.
This movie is, shot very well. The opening shot of the movie where, it's in the desert and it shows the Humvees kind of coming towards you, and it's sort of that low level shot, and it's just sort of silent for a while, and then the music kicks up. Really great way to start off this franchise. I think this movie is beautifully shot. It's one of those ones that it's not a huge CGI fest or like these amazing vistas. It's not like Shang-Chi is going to be, I suspect, or Guardians, where there's all these different, looking space things. I'm going to give this a 4 for cinematography.
Okay. That's fair. I think I'm in the same neighborhood at a 4. They did a lot of things I really liked, like you had mentioned with the HUD, and his helmet. Like that at the time, I was like, oh, "Holy crap, this is
and now,
some of the coolest shit I've ever seen."
It's hard to imagine times when that wasn't on screen now. Like because everybody does that now.
Yeah, and I think overall the camera work, the way the scenes were framed, the directing, this had a very high production value in my opinion.
Agreed.
That did just kind of remind me of something though. Early in the desert, was I the only one that wanted that freaking cell phone he had with a screen that flipped around? Wasn't even a smartphone.
Yeah, the little the screen turned sideways.
Yeah.
It's funny because
and I left the movie and was like, I need that phone.
Yeah, it's funny because I think that was the year after the original OG iPhone came out, which is crazy to think, a world without smartphones. But I mean, I always wanted that Matrix phone. The one that it had the little piece that came out, in the bottom and stuff. That was cool. What's next?
Next we'll go over to plot.
All right, I led off last time, so I'll let you take this one.
Well, I think I touched on this a bit earlier. Like this is, I'm normally not a big fan of origin movies. I feel like a lot of times they're unnecessary, especially in the comic book world. Like people know who Batman is. You don't need to see his parents die for the 80th time on screen. And most big name superheroes, their story. With Iron Man, I think he has a very simple origin story in the comics, which really surprises me that they even decided to do one. But because RDJ is so good as Tony Stark, it really amps that up and it makes it so much more believable. But the story starting with him in the desert being looked up to by all these soldiers as literally a god of war to them, for him to go through all the stuff he did in the desert, being kidnapped and going through all that turmoil and really ripping away that outer shell of who he is as a person and making him build himself up and rediscover who he actually is. This is an amazing story. And I felt like, even though the villain is not so great, I feel like it was the perfect villain for this story. It's a very believable power struggle between the two, with him wanting to take over the business from the Starks, and it's all about money. And I felt it was really good. I'm probably also at a 4 on this one.
Okay, cool. Because for a second there, I thought you were going to give it a 5, and I was going to give it a 4 the whole time. So regardless of what you said, so I think you're totally on point. It's a little.
The reason why I'm at a 4 is it's not a complex plot by any means.
Yeah,
you see where it's going, so it's a little predictable in that nature, but it's good from start to finish. It's a solid plot. Still had a 4 though.
I'm at a 4 regardless, because like you said, it's such a simple story, but sometimes simple works, So I'm totally fine with a 4. Yeah, exactly. So we've done casting, performance, we've done cinematography and plot. What's next?
We got rewatchability. How on a scale of 1 to 5, how easy is it to go back to this movie over and over again?
For me, it's easily a 5. This movie is one of those ones that you can just sort of have on in the background and just enjoy it. I don't mean to say that you don't have to pay attention. I just mean that, you know, you can just sort of see him building the armor, going through all those little, scenes they have. This is something you can do while you're just kind of sitting around the house. You can have it on while friends are over and things like that. It's very, very rewatchable simply because the cast is so good. The performances bring you back. Like, you are not watching Robert Downey Jr. You're watching Tony Stark in real life.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So definitely a 5 for me.
Yeah, and I agree. I'm at a 5 also. I feel like it doesn't matter what mood I'm in. And also, people that are with me, if people are over, we're bored, they're visiting, and be like, hey, let's throw on a movie. If I suggest Iron Man, everyone in the room's going to be okay with it.
Yeah, for sure. It's not even people that don't like comic book movies still this can watch this movie because it's very approachable.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I'm also at a 5. And then so our last category is the music.
The score.
Yeah, so this applies. It's also 1 through 5 rating. There's a couple different ways to look at this we did talk about beforehand, and so there's original score, like music that was composed for this film, but then this movie is also a great example of music that they licensed outside of that. So this is sort of a combined rating for music in general, but I think it'd be good for us to touch on both topics.
Yep, I agree. What you got?
So I'm going to talk about the license score a little bit first. This movie has some amazing rock in it. I feel like there's a lot of good scenes that are queued up and paired with really great music that really fits the vibe of this movie.
The ending credits are perfectly timed.
Yeah. So great choices all around on the music there. The original score for this movie I felt like is great as well. I don't think it quite stands up to the same level as the licensed music, but
I agree.
It is well done. It is if you asked me to hum out the music, I probably couldn't. So
the only one I could do would be the one where he like takes off and flies by the Ferris wheel, that part. That's the only one I really truly remember.
Yeah, so I think considering both things, like this has really great licensed music and I would say okay original score. So
totally agree.
I'm probably going to rate this. I'm a little torn between 4 and 3, but I think I'm actually going to go at a 3 just because the original score is a little forgettable.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. The licensed stuff I would put at a 4. It's not quite Guardians level, but everything with Sabbath and AC/DC is perfect in this movie, and the original score is good. It's not great. I am totally cool with giving a 3 for this. And here's the thing: we're not supposed to necessarily agree on all of these. This is just it just happened to work out this way. Like I could say you're an idiot. It's a 5. It's awesome, but that would be dumb. So yeah, 3. So what do we have for the total here?
So it's funny that both of us did match because I didn't expect this.
Yeah, that wasn't necessarily the plan. It just worked out that way.
So our overall score is a 4.2. So that's a 4 on cinematography, 5 on cast and performance, 4 on plot, 5 on rewatchability, and 3 on music score. So 4.2.
So 4 out of 5 would put it basically in the A tier, which is where I had it. You had this in the S tier, correct? I believe so.
You would ask me that. I don't have it up.
I think you did. I think you did because you said it was the one that started it all, and the other movies couldn't exist without that. I'm pretty sure you had it in S.
Yeah, I think I did. And I think whenever I was doing that tiered list, I didn't even consider music for most of the movies. And I think that's what drug my score down on this, and your score for that matter. We probably would have been at 4.5. A plus at minimum if we didn't consider the music. So I think even though Jeff wasn't here with us today, we'll get his rating offline, and we'll insert that here with our blended score somewhere, wherever that ends up being. So we've got that, and currently this is first and last place on our rating list. So
maybe the Hulk can beat it. Spoiler alert, it won't.
Yeah, probably not. So actually, yeah, let's I guess before we talk about what's next, if you're watching this, let us know what you think in the comments where you rate this movie. Do you think we're crazy, or do you agree with us 100%? We'd like to know. And then also, if you have any feedback or suggestions with our rating system, let us know as well. Because, like I said, this is the first time we've tried it. It may evolve over time as we go through this.
Yeah, we may do the Incredible Hulk and realize that this rating system sucks, and we're just like, okay, it's a blank out of 10 or whatever, you know.
Yeah, because
we'll see.
if we end up rating that a 4 point something, then we're doing it wrong.
Who's to say though? Because I feel like this is definitely a very like, you know, so I would say objective rating. I mean, obviously our ratings that we're giving are subjective, but like you can't argue with the average, you know, and
yeah.
So if we rate, who knows? There may be movies that we had in D tier that rate a 4 or something. We don't know. It's difficult,
it's definitely
you know?
possible because in the essence of doing that Marvel tiers, look at the company those movies are with. Like if you're an S tier in that list, you're a really damn good movie. And if you're in a C tier, you still beat a half dozen Marvel movies that are blockbuster.
There's
titles.
There's like, $2 billion films in my D tier, Iron Man 3 and Captain Marvel. So what do we know?
So
you know?
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like this approach should actually help shed some light on that. I may be surprised with how I rate some of these films.
Yeah, for sure.
We're really putting them in a silo and looking at them on their own versus trying to compare them to other things.
Yeah. Cool.
But so what do we got next? I think next up we're doing the Edward Norton Incredible Hulk, right?
Yep. Incredible Hulk came out, I want to say the same year as this movie, not too far after, because Tony appears in the after credit scene, or I can't remember if it's the after credit scene or like just the very end of the movie when Ross is in that bar and he's like, I'm putting a team together. And then we were just like, what? This is a thing? Like, what? So, yeah, well, I don't like, let me rephrase. I don't love this movie. I do like this movie, being the Hulk. It's not great. Maybe I'll watch it this time and I'll be like, holy crap, I forgot how awesome this action is. We'll see. I may love it, we'll see.
Yeah, I think the plot of, well, we'll go into it when we review it. I'm not going to talk about it now. But so that's what we've got coming next. I think we're going to try to record that next week, even though I'm going to be on vacation. So we'll see how
we're going to try to do these all on Monday. We'll see how that goes. Life can get in the way and stuff, but we'll try. We're going to try to do one movie a week and keep up with our regular podcast episodes as well. So look forward to those videos coming out soon.
Yeah, and we should have Jeff's technical problems worked out.
I don't know if you can.
So he'll be able to join us.
I don't know if you can tell. I'm wearing our fan out shirt. If you guys want to get one yourself, too bad. We only bought 5 of them, so we're poor. So if you want to get your own fan out shirt, like and subscribe to this video, and definitely, or like and subscribe to our channel, all that stuff, and hopefully we can get out some merch, pretty soon.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I don't have anything else I plan to cover, Colby, so I think we're good if you're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, I am. As always, I am Iron Man.
But you're not our DJ.
All right, guys. Fan out. We'll see you later.
Fan out, guys.